Yep, let's have an exclusive conversation this morning with the former Director General of the National Council for Curriculum Assessment, that is NACA, also the Chairman of the NPP Manifesto Committee on Education, a Member of Parliament for the Efia-Kwesi-Mintim constituency, and now the Deputy Minister for Works and Housing. I'm speaking of none other than Dr. Prince Hamid Armah. He joins us to talk about the myriad issues in the country. Good morning, Doc. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers.
Right.
Just a quick one. The constituency used to be Efia-Kwesi-Mintim, now divided into Efia and Kwesi-Mintim.
So you are Kwesi-Mintim, not Efia-Kwesi-Mintim. Exactly. Thank you for that correction. And you have a rich background in education, and you held various positions. I'm talking about the NACA position, and then the chair on the Education Committee on the Manifesto. Let me start by asking you to give us an assessment of the education sector as we speak. I mean, when you listen to critics, not critics, people who are just interested in that sector, they tell you that maybe the strength is the expansion of access, and that new curriculum that was introduced, focusing on critical thinking and all that. What would be your assessment, both challenges and strengths and weaknesses of the current education sector?
Well, I think that under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we have done extensively well in all the metrics used in measuring education outcomes. If you take access, which is a very important metric in ensuring that young people benefit from the privileges that education affords. At every level of the education ladder, we've expanded access, increased the numbers of enrollment. And I know that the famous will be free senior high school. And as you know, before we came to office, the total number of secondary school our students in the secondary school was around 800,000. As we speak now, because of the advent of free SHS, which has removed several barriers, not only the cost barrier, but also the policy imperative of the BECE, which was previously used as the selection process to go into secondary school, and which was focused on the total aggregate that a person gets. Yeah. You must get a minimum of 36 before you get access, and even the 36, the schools were not available, and that those who did far better than the aggregate 36 are the ones who had secondary school education. Now, we've removed that barrier, and if anybody gets even aggregate 52, 53, they will still get a secondary school to attend. That has consequentially, improved the access from the 800,000 we came to meet to the 1.4 million students currently. You find the same access.
Is that your biggest, is that your proudest achievement with the education sector, that you've expanded access from 800,000 to 1.4 million?
Yes, because the secondary school is a transition to improving a young person's life chances. It's a transition to tertiary education. It's a transition to the world of work and transition to skills development. We have conceptualized secondary education as a minimum foundation or foundational education that every Ghanaian child must have. And before we came to office, the transition from junior secondary school to senior secondary school was really, really low. You had not more than 60% of our young people finishing junior secondary school, not able to have access to senior secondary school. Okay. And each year you had almost more than 100,000 young people who finish BEC, finish secondary school, write BEC, and unable to go to secondary school. If you take back 10 years back, then you're going to have about 1 million children in a generation who never had the opportunity to go to secondary school. For the various reasons I've given you, the financial barriers removed, the policy imperative, and all those things all removed. So yes, it's a very huge achievement. It has shown impact on the tertiary education enrollment as well. When we came, we were just around 430,000 enrollment at the tertiary level. As we speak now, it's around 700,000, so almost doubling, you know. And the impact that this will have on the economy is enormous. When you have the human resource capacity of your country, you know, improved, you would appreciate its impact on the various sectors of the economy. Right. The teachers we have, the lawyers we have, you know, journalists like yourself, and the rest. So right. It is an important milestone that we have achieved, and because it benefits and affects almost everybody in society, we are proud to say that the free SHS has really helped many parents. But that's just about the access. Okay. And you can go into the quality. Mm-hmm. We have improved quality by addressing the content and structure that the young people were experiencing. When you get access, the second issue will be what learning experience will the child or the student have in the school. Mm-hmm. That learning experience is encrypted in the curriculum framework that you use. We have reviewed the curriculum. We moved from the objective.
That was quite recent, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean, we started the review in 2017. I was actually part of the team that made a very strong case for moving or gravitating towards standard-based curriculum when the ministry intended to review the curriculum. Right. And then, so we reviewed the curriculum from KG up to junior secondary school, and then in the process of finalizing the senior secondary school as well. We have provided instructional resources. Chalk that used to be an instructional resource that eluded the schools, eluded the teachers. That there are reports that Eastern region there are no chalks. That there's a report, if you could remember, a report from Kukurintumi where headmistress requested for a chalk from a certain second lady, and she says, we will not give you chalk today, we will not give you chalk tomorrow. Today, chalk is available in our schools. And we have even transitioned from providing chalkboards. We are now providing what we call whiteboards. So if you go to all the schools that we are constructing now, all of them are whiteboards. So that's on the quality textbooks and the other instructional resources
But in terms of quality, where do the teachers come in? I mean, there are reports of, in terms of teacher welfare, many of these educators have expressed dissatisfaction over delays in salary payments, limited professional development opportunities. We've seen series of industrial action from teachers. This year alone, about 3 or 4 times alone this year, that teachers are expressing dissatisfaction with their terms of their living, the way, you know, the terms of working conditions and all that. Is that not a pivotal part of the quality of education that you intend to provide to the students that are under this free senior high school program?
Yeah, it is. Teacher quality is extremely important in driving educational improvement and in driving improving learning outcomes. So it is. And that's why this government has been very focused, you know, in addressing teacher quality issues.
How have you done that?
I have been a teacher throughout my life.
Have you?
I mean, this would be my 23rd year in the education sector. Okay. My first experience in the classroom was in 2001. And I've taught from primary school, secondary school, to the university. And so I am a teacher. I've been a member of NAGRAT. I've been a member of UTAG. So I appreciate the concerns of teachers. And I will not be the person to come and sit here and pretend as if everything is well.
So what's the challenge?
What we have done when we came to office, first, improving teacher quality means that updating the quality of teachers in this, the quality of training of teachers, so that they can deliver. Right. So that's the first leg of it. So what we did was to upgrade the teacher education curriculum and then ensure that they transition from diploma awarding institution into a degree awarding institution, and so that the teachers will graduate with a degree as the minimum. And so as we speak now, in Ghana, unlike other countries, even around the sub-region, the minimum qualification for entering into the teaching profession is a degree. That's an important step in improving the quality. The second thing we have done is what we call the teacher, our teacher policy, comprehensive teacher policy. We realized that if we want to improve the professional competencies of the teachers, then we have to provide an enabler for them to undergo professional development as part of the teacher licensing and teacher professionalization regime. So what we did was to introduce a professional development allowance for all teachers, especially at the basic school and the secondary school. 1,200 for every teacher for professional development. I understand that there's been negotiation and this figure has been adjusted upwards. For non-teachers, we're receiving 800 cedis per year for professional development. That's part of our improving the welfare of the teachers.
Right.
The second thing is the laptops that we provided for teachers, more than 300,000 laptops for teachers. When it comes to teacher salary,
the laptop, let's stay on the laptops for a bit. Some of the teachers also said that the promise was to give every teacher a laptop, and then it wasn't completely fulfilled. Next thing we saw was the sharing of tablets to students. And these teachers were dissatisfied. And we all saw the reports all over that it looks as if you're just engaged in showmanship, that you're seen to be distributing laptops to teachers when in fact the teachers are not receiving these laptops.
That's completely inaccurate. Okay. I want you to call the national president of NAGRAT or any of the teacher unions, and they would confirm what I'm going to tell you.
That every teacher...
We have provided... See, what government did was that we're going to fund the provision of laptop by subsidizing. The government was going to take 70% of it, and teachers were going to pay 30% of it from their professional development allowance. Okay? We provided the laptops in phases. And as I speak to you now, more than 300,000 laptops have been distributed. But don't forget that there are some teachers that may, when they applied, were in one school or one district or one region, and they have moved from the others. My checks with the teacher unions was that there are few people or teachers who, because of moving from one place or the other, the data was not accurate to capture them and to be able to give them the laptops. But generally, the schools, the teachers who took part in the process of acquisition of the laptop and who have their data captured have received. Every secondary school teacher has received.
We have about 400,000 teacher population, right? Thereabouts. This includes TVETs and the rest.
Yes.
And you're saying you've distributed laptops to 300,000?
But at the time that the teacher population is not stagnant.
Yes,
they keep increasing.
Yes,
so there has to be a reference point.
Okay.
So at the time that this policy intervention was introduced, the figures and the data available is what was provided. Don't forget that even when we started, these new teachers have emerged.
True. Okay,
so but they were not captured. So there are phases. We have dealt with the first 300,000 teachers. This year, we have recruited teachers from the College of Education. They have not received it, so they will complain. Is that not the case? So we will go to the next phase, which is to ensure that...
So it's not like a completed project.
Exactly. It's ongoing because you're going to recruit more teachers. GS has advertised the recruitment of teachers from who are graduates. So yes, because we have that policy intervention to provide that support structure for teachers, we're going to continue with that. But those that we started with, I can tell you on authority, when I leave here, you can fact check, call the teacher unions, and they will confirm that largely, significant numbers of them number of teachers have received their laptops. And then you bring in the idea of laptops for students. 1.3 million laptops the first phase is to provide 900,000. And these are all part of the improving the teacher quality.
Also part of the digitization agenda.
Exactly, improving the quality of teaching and learning. And then also improving the modern way, transition towards the modern approach to teaching and learning. You know, so at every sector or subsector or benchmark or metric of the education sectors, you have even espoused some of our policy initiatives. We have done a certain work.
Okay.
But not only the access quality, let me just add the third indicator, which is the equity.
Okay.
You see, people come from different backgrounds, and somebody's location must not determine their destiny. The fact that you are from an underserved community, deprived community, must not deny you access to secondary education, must not deny you access to good quality basic education, and so tertiary education as well.
Okay.
What we have done through our policy intervention is to ensure that everybody, regardless of where they come from, have access to education, including secondary education. And that's why you now find people in the very deprived villages now having their children attending secondary schools like Prempeh, Infantepim, Wesley Girls, which were previously at the preserve of the people, those from privileged background. So that's one major feature of our policy intervention, to ensure that we don't create two types of Ghanaians. Those that are from affluent background. In fact, the data before by the Ghana Living Standards Survey 6 clearly suggested that those from affluent background, when they start KG, they complete. The chances of them completing is almost 100%. And from those from deprived areas, underserved communities, and poor background, start from KG, and then by primary they start dropping out from primary, junior, secondary. At every level they keep dropping, and by the time we get to tertiary level, just around 5-6% are able to go there. This is what we want to. We have been working hard to address, because if we say that education is an instrument to bridge the poverty and rich gap, that the young person from the very deprived area must also have equal opportunity, like just as the person from a privileged background. And that's what we have been trying to do.
What's new then? You've done, this is, by the end of this year, you'd have completed 8 years in office. You're hoping that Ghanaians would keep you in office to continue doing some more work, like you say you're doing. So what's new in your manifesto? What are the education policies? What is the highlight of it? I mean, we've seen the manifesto. What is the highlight of it? And you can also share some unique perspective that you brought to the manifesto as the chair of the Education Committee, and how these policies and promises are actually meeting the demands of this current era of our students in terms of education in particular.
The world is evolving. The knowledge that a person acquires or acquired 10 years ago may no longer be adequate for the person to function efficiently in society now. It is that reason that we have moved our minimum standard from junior secondary school to senior secondary school. And I'll come back to that again. Because the evidence suggested that somebody who finished junior secondary school, you know, could not, the knowledge that they have will not be adequate for that person to function in society. In today's society, the world is changing. And that's the reason why those who there were instances where people completed junior secondary school and then used their certificates to get employment in the military, in the police service, and the rest. Today, they are not accepting that. That in itself will tell you that knowledge acquisition evolves. So what we seek to do is to look at the current foundation that we've built and to build on it, ensure that we provide or produce young people who can function effectively in society by at least finishing secondary school. And when they do finish secondary school, either they have the opportunity to go to tertiary education or they fall out and go into the world of work. But they are prepared to go into a world of work. But to be able to do that, we want to strengthen our KG, the foundation, the KG programs, improve KG provision, infrastructure, in terms of quality, in terms of modern digital tools, to enable the children to learn and compete with their counterparts in other countries that they would be competing with 10, 20 years to come in the labor market. And then I guess
I just wanted us to wrap up on education and move on to other areas. But then I also want to talk about the new curriculum that was introduced by NACA. And there are some reported challenges of implementation in terms of teacher preparedness to handle these new programs in the curriculum that you've introduced. How are you actually planning to fix the gap between the preparedness of the teachers to implement this new curriculum and the intention that you hope, the goals that you hope to achieve with it?
I'm not getting what you mean by teacher preparedness.
Okay,
because
so you are asking, some of the new programs is like critical thinking. Did
Yes,
our teachers, current teachers we have they undergone any sort of training to prepare them to adequately deliver on these new programs that you've introduced in the curriculum?
So what we did was that concurrently, whilst we were reviewing the primary school curriculum, we're also reviewing the teacher education curriculum concurrently, so that there is alignment with what they are studying and what the children are going to, what they are studying and what they are going to teach and what the children are going to experience. So all in-service teachers curriculum now, in the last 6 years, are consistent, and what they experience are consistent with the new curriculum. That's the pre-service teachers.
Okay.
The in-service teachers are those who are currently, who were in the system before the introduction of the curriculum. Okay. The first thing we did was to undertake a comprehensive training program for the teachers across the country, 152,000 teachers at the time. I led the process with the Ghana Education Service.
Half of the teacher population.
At the time, the teacher population for KG up to primary school, you know, was around that figure. So we did the training for
6
them
years
across.
Ago, you said.
Yes, across the country. We did that training and ensure that they are up to date with the expectations of the new curriculum. But you must also remember that the knowledge that the teacher has or acquires any time is not adequate to take the teacher through his or her full continuum of the professional career. So you need professional development.
Yeah.
And that is where the licensure regime requires professional updates and getting credit points, you know, for professional development. And so we know that there are several ongoing professional developments that is enabling the implementation of the curriculum.
Okay.
What we just to add, that for any policy development, policy implementation, there's something we call the rhetoric and reality gap. That the policy makes some expectations. The policy espouses some ideas. But when it gets to the implementation, sometimes there's a gap between what the policy says and what is happening. What is important is for the program implementer to bridge that gap so that as far as possible, the expectation of the policy, which is the curriculum, is reflected on the ground. And to be able to do that, we have a program called Fidelity of Implementation. It's a specific implementation tool that is done to ensure that as much as possible, the implementers implement the expectation of the curriculum in a very strict manner with fidelity. We have done that over the years to try and ensure that the curriculum is being implemented in the manner espoused. The challenge is that we still have more instructional resources we still have to provide more instructional resources. And that's one of the areas that our vice president and our vice president and our presidential candidate is very keen in ensuring that in the next administration, what the implementation setbacks that we face, the implementation challenges that we face, which is very normal in any policy implementation, we address that.
Okay. Let's talk about the Sagami Housing Project. You are Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, and this project has been a topic of significant public interest. Recently, we saw that the President has approved a new deal, and I think the majority of citizens are concerned that would it still be affordable by the end of this private partnership, and then if they, are able to complete the project. First, what is the financing agreement? What does it look like? And how are you ensuring that it is still affordable to citizens who this project was intended for?
I think you know the history behind the Sagami.
Yes, it was abandoned for a while.
$200 million loan was pumped into it for supposedly 5,000 units of houses. We ended up getting 1,506 units of housing, and even that number of units that we have were not complete. The horizontal infrastructure not complete, waste management system not available, no electricity, no water, so it's absolutely uninhabitable. What the ministry, under the leadership of Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, my boss, sought to do was to get international partners, because the estimate that was brought by the Ghana Institute of Surveyors suggested that we needed more than just $100 million to be able to complete the project. The government didn't have the resources to do that. And so the international competitive bidding process was activated, and we got a number of bidders to come in.
I'm sorry, we needed more than $100 million.
Yes, to complete.
For what? I thought the project was completed. It was
not
just
completed,
up to,
not at all.
Wiring and water supply. And
they're not completed at all.
It was not complete.
Not at all. I mean, the story is out there. The report is there. You can just Google. We needed an additional $100 million plus.
For what?
To complete, to finish the horizontal infrastructure, to complete the fittings, and then make it habitable. And this was the report from the Ghana Institute of Surveyors. And it was that report that gave the government the policy position to offload the housing, that particular project, to a third party to invest. Because we didn't have that money to pump into the project. In fact, if we continued along that path, we're going to end up spending over almost $400 million on the project with interest. And,
right.
And so that's the reason. Fast forward, we've issued requests for proposal for international. Yes, we've got some bids. We have evaluated. There's a transaction advisor leading the process. I think 3 companies or consortium have been shortlisted. The arrangement is that government is going to have that infrastructure as our equity investment, and then the third party or the private sector will complete the project, and the cost will also constitute their equity investment, and that will be brought together into a joint venture framework, and then the housing units can then be let out, and government will have, so that at the end of the day we're able to maintain the monies that we expended, and then also achieve the original purpose of the housing unit, which is to let out to Ghanaians for
What timelines are you working with?
I think by September this month, we're supposed to conclude on the financing arrangement, and then we'll move to the. But we plan that before the year ends, we would have concluded signed contracts for the third party or the JV to.
So by end of this month, you conclude on financing arrangements.
Yeah, I think, yes. So per the timelines, by the end of the year, let me be very specific. By the end of the year, we would have concluded signing or contracting. That's what I can say.
This financing agreement, how does it ensure, or how does it capture the concerns of citizens that at the end of this project completion, it would still be affordable to the citizens? Because when private investors come in, they're coming with the intention of making profit. So, and really, the devil is in the details. So what does this financing agreement look like, and how are you ensuring that we as citizens, our interests are protected in this housing project?
So that's where the negotiation will take place. So now we are the negotiation.
Give us a...
I cannot give you details of what we are going to negotiate in public.
Is it 50% state, 50% private investment? I mean,
but that will depend on the cost. So if we do valuation of the cost of the project now,
Before you can tell.
And then we do valuation of how, we do the costing of how much we need to be able to complete. It will give you an indication of what shares would government have in terms of using the infrastructure as equity investment, the same as the private sector.
But can you assure citizens that government has their interest at heart?
Obviously, that's the reason why government is committed to completing this project.
Okay. Still on works and housing, I'm sure you follow the stories that we are unable to supply water because of Galamsey activities. And I understand that, or I know that houses should have potable water. So this, in a way, also falls under your purview. Are you concerned that illegal mining activities have reached the point where the Ghana Water Company Limited is saying that they are unable to supply 70, which was already a deficit. Now we are all the way down to 40%. Are you concerned about it? And what are you doing about it? What are your thoughts?
Do you want my views?
I want your views on how Galamsey is destroying supply of potable water, clean water to homes in this country.
If I had the power, I would have proposed that people who engage in Galamsey are incarcerated when they are found guilty, are given life imprisonment, the highest penalty one can think of. Because you're talking about environmental sustainability. The water body that when I was growing up, we used to go and fetch water and then drink and bath. That water body has now turned into a gutter, a small gutter in my constituency.
Brown all over the place.
And it's all over the place across the country. And people are just recklessly destroying our water bodies. And the impact is what we are facing. The unfortunate thing is that we're playing politics with it. They're playing politics. The last election, the NPP lost in almost all the Galamsey areas because of the fight opposition against Galamsey. When we were campaigning that we needed to ensure that we sanitize the small-scale mining enterprise and make sure that they do it in a very conducive manner, support them to do that, there were other political party officials going to those towns and villages and telling the people that when we come, we'll allow you to do Galamsey. You
think that's why you were voted out of power? In the areas that,
yes.
Experience Galamsey?
It has significant impact.
The Galamseyers prefer to continue doing that.
to do their job.
Some would argue that it's actually a lack of political will.
No, I think that
for the leadership to actually
I think
fight.
We have demonstrated a significant political will in this fight.
How have you demonstrated that?
We have done so by enforcing the the statutory provisions that we have, by setting up specific task force to go after them and the rest. But the connivance and the...
Has it produced results?
We may not have achieved the intended results that we envisaged. But significantly, if we had not stalled it, if we had not put in those measures, the situation would have been worse than we find ourselves in. It would have been worse. So, but I think we have to come to a consensus. Where there's a political will, there's a way. When we come to a consensus that this is a matter of national security, a matter of national concern, and that we have to address this matter apolitically, that's where we can achieve results. But when you are very forceful in enforcing rules, when you are forceful in ensuring that people who are found to culpable in this particular enterprise are dealt with. And then you have your political opponent going around and say that, look, we will deal with, we will allow you to continue what you're doing. Okay. It makes it a bit difficult for you to move forward. So I think that we have to come to a consensus.
Find out a bit on this. Be that as it may, that these Galamseyers want to continue doing what they do, for which reason they voted you out of power. It is still your government it is still your party in government as we speak. And when reporters go out and report on Galamsey activities, the reports we get back is that these Galamseyers are emboldened because they have political actors backing them, or these same politicians are the ones funding these Galamsey activities. How do you respond to that? I'm just picking your thoughts on these, because you are also in power. You're a man in politics, and it says
I have made my point very, very clear. I have indicated my revulsion to that enterprise. I think I will end it here. But I thought that we could go into the vision of the flag bearer.
We will in a bit.
Yes,
in a bit. So let me pivot to the govt project now. It still falls under your ministry. What are the expected outcomes of this govt project? I mean, for residents here in Accra, and how are you ensuring that these outcomes are achieved within the projected timelines?
Yeah, so I mean, the purpose of govt is to try and address our flooding situation in Greater Accra in particular, following the June 3rd, 2015 disaster.
June 4th.
This is
June 4th or 3rd, yeah.
June 3rd. There's some June somewhere. the June 2015 disaster. I think June 3rd.
It's the June 3rd disaster.
And what we seek to do is to improve our flood resilience and reduce our flood risk by looking at one of the major drainage tributaries that we have, drainage basin, which is the Odor Basin. At the moment, all the deliverables are on target, and we hope that by the period that we have set, we'll be able to reduce the flooding situation. In fact, because of the project, even though we haven't completed, but the
I remember hearing Kojo Ponkuma say we haven't even reached 10%
of it, but
the work
at
that
least
need to be done.
This year's flooding situation was not as pervasive as one could imagine previously. The impact will be very, very, very well felt when the project is completed.
So let's talk about what you've been waiting to talk about, the strategy of the new Patriotic Party. And you are a key contributor to that, to the 2024 manifesto. How do you see the party's vision shaping Ghana's future in the light that you've been in power for 8 years? By the end of this year, it would have been 8 years. And you say that to lead is to solve. So for me, I'm curious to know what gaps, what problems do you see that you want us to give you another term, which the former to-do mode hasn't solved, that you want to come and solve now?
So we've laid the foundation. Every leader and his vision. The flag bearer has supported the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to deliver his 8-year mandate. And whilst working with him, he has had the opportunity to even appreciate more the challenges that confront us. And then he has made some other proposals. If you look through the manifesto, one thing that cuts across is job creation for our young people. Obviously, because over the last decade, access to tertiary education has gone up, as I indicated, that particularly between 2018 and 2017 and now, we have almost doubled our tertiary enrollment. That creates unemployment situation. When you expand access to secondary education, that also creates unemployment situation if they are not able to transit into tertiary. And if they even transit into tertiary and they finish, they still will need jobs. So a significant amount of time has been spent, or energy has been spent, on how to innovatively address our unemployment situation through skills development and training and the rest. So that's one thing that we seek to do. The second I see across the manifesto is protection of vulnerable groups. There are 3 categories of vulnerable groups. You have the young people, the children. You have the people with disability, and then you have the aged. These are the 3 categories of vulnerable groups. If you look through the manifesto, you see clearly the vision of protecting these groups. You see a sort of a welfare system being created for the aged. You see a safeguarding system being created for for children. And you see inclusive system being created for people with disability. So largely, the manifesto seeks to ensure that everybody in this country, regardless of where they come from, is taken care of. And we hope that the Ghanaian people, for the first time, we will change. We will change with continuity. That for the first time.
So the change you're looking for,
yes,
is for us to, for the first time, keep
yes,
a government,
exactly.
a party
we have
in power
to change from the
for
8
more
years,
than 8 years.
Yes,
that's a change.
Yes, that's a change.
Looking to
we
bring.
change for continuity. You change for continuity. So if change is coming, it is the continuity we are looking for.
I want to put some issues from the manifesto to you, but first I want you to give me an assessment of where we are in terms of how we are doing economically. And also in terms of young people. There's that Afrobarometer report, even the Ghana Statistical report that says that nearly 2 million young people are unemployed, not in any form of training. You've elaborated on how you intend to use education to, prepare young people to get jobs and all that. How do you think economically, where do we stand as a nation? And then we talk about some of the things that
But you notice that we have had challenges post-2020.
Are you alluding to the Russian-Ukraine war and COVID-19?
And people want to discount that anytime you bring that matter, but that's a reality. There's nothing that it's ravaged many economies. There's nothing that anybody can say to dissuade us from not making that point.
I don't think they're saying don't make that point.
Because anytime you bring that point, there's times that people even try to make fun of it, but that's the reality. If you check all the economic indicators that you can think of, the GDP growth, inflation rate, our reserve, almost every indicator, we're doing very, very well until, the unfortunate incident. But obviously, you can appreciate that things are getting better. Inflation rate that previously was around 54%, it's come down to, I think, around 23%. And the growth rate, we've even revised our growth rate to somewhere around 3%. So we are on the path of economic growth. And we believe that the foundation that we've built is enough to enable us to catapult us to the next level that His Excellency, the Vice President and our presidential candidate want to take us. And as I've indicated, resolving the unemployment issue is through education and skills development. And that's why we talk about skills training, skills development, and leveraging technology in this technological age by training 1 million of our young people in digital skills.
You said we are recovering as a nation economically. I mean, be that as it may, Russia-Ukraine war, COVID-19, and all the global issues that have impacted our economy. But as we speak, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam was saying that our public debt is more than 700 billion as we speak. How do you intend to manage this?
Well, so public debt, there's always public debt everywhere. There's public debt in every country.
The sharp increase.
Put it in dollar terms. You see, the best way, I've seen people throwing around numbers like 700 billion, put them in dollar terms, because that's a consistent...
Over 700, and that was the finance minister.
Yes, I'm saying that if you put them in dollar terms, I cannot get the figures, but if you put them in dollar terms and then find percentage change, and that's how we do, if we want to do comparison, the most important instrument is the rate of change. I'm a mathematics person.
Okay.
And when you do the rate of change, that will give you the benchmark to compare. If you do that, and unfortunately, I didn't know I was going to talk about it, but if I did, I knew I would have brought those figures. If you do that,
well, your manifesto talks about how you intend to stabilize.
If you do that analysis, you will see that in terms of our debt, percentage of change in debt, we have done even better than what our previous, the previous administration, the NDC, did.
The reason I asked this...
But largely, debt is inevitable, because when your revenue, governments finance its projects and pay salaries through revenue. And if your revenue is not adequate, if just around 11% of Ghanaians are paying what they're supposed to pay, then obviously you're not going to get enough revenue. And if you don't have enough revenue, then you have to find a way of financing. And if you want to finance, you finance through debt, through treasury bills, through bonds. So unless, and that's why His Excellency, the Vice President, is very keen in digitalization, streamline our tax collection system, ensure that the tax collection process is very convenient, the tax collection process is easy and it's accessible. When you do that, people are able to comply. That's why he talks about the flat rate, to be able to increase compliance. When you increase compliance, you are likely to generate more revenue. And when you generate more revenue, you are able to finance part of your debt and finance your projects and the infrastructure that you want to pursue. So we have clearly articulated this in the manifesto.
I want to go to Kwesi Mintim in a bit, but please explain to me how your manifesto intends to mitigate or not exacerbate the debt situation of the country as we speak. Because under this administration, we've seen the highest rise in public debt. How do you intend to keep, and if not to reduce it, keep us where we are, so that we are not, keep borrowing and keep putting the country into debt? How does the manifesto intend to fix that?
It's very clear. The manifesto is very clear, indicates that we are going to cut our expenditure by 3%.
How?
3% of GDP.
How?
We are going to cut the expenditure by 30 billion Ghana cedi. It's clear, it's already in the manifesto.
I'm asking how you are going to achieve that 30% cut.
Because we have costed the entire manifesto. We are going to reduce the size of government. The president has said, I'm already calling him the president. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president, inshallah, the president, may it come to pass. He's already said that he's going to have 50 ministers. So you are downsizing government. You are going to make efficiency savings.
So that's some expenditure cuts over there.
Yes, and also through efficiency savings.
So elections are coming up in December. Do you think you've done enough in Kwesi Mintim to keep you there for another 4 years? And if so, what have you done there?
I believe that I have done enough, but I don't think that I'm done. If I am done, I will not seek for re-election. I went to the constituency with a very clear mindset to bring development to my people. When I say I went to, it was because I decided to do the constituency politics because of my background. That's where I was born. That's where I grew up. That's where I schooled, from primary school
so you're
up
a son of the people.
So I am a homeboy, born, bred from Kwesi Mintim. I breathe Kwesi Mintim. I drink Kwesi Mintim. And growing up as a young man, the experiences I had has informed and shaped my thinking about how to develop the constituency. I put 4 pillars as the key drivers to changing the fortunes of the constituency. The first is on education and skills training. The second is entrepreneurship and job creation. The third is social infrastructure. And the fourth is leadership and governance.
Those are your priorities.
Exactly. Along these pathways, I have specific policy interventions that I personally initiated or lobbied to be implemented. As I speak to you now, I have constructed around 8 schools within this period in terms of education, from KG up to junior secondary school, improving access, because in some instances, 80 students are in one classroom, 120 students in one classroom. And so to be able to improve access and reduce the number of students in the classroom and reduce the teacher-pupil ratio, I am leading the charge in constructing and producing more classrooms to enable access, for students to learn in a very conducive environment. Beyond that, I have scholarship programs that I have supported our young people, not less than 200, over 200. Some are abroad, some are working, and they are able to support their family, help people to get training in vocational skills. I've trained no less than 2,000 youths. I recently graduated about 620 young people Many of them were women.
When you say you, it means you funded or you paid for the
Yes, I
education
funded.
from
yes.
your own pocket?
Yes, I funded it through. I have a foundation that lists that charge. So I've bought a tripod. The foundation, the office of the MP. I actually have an office for the Member of Parliament in the constituency. So the foundation, the office of the MP, and the district assembly. So that's the tripod. Working with the assembly, working with the foundation, and then also from the office to be able to deliver that. So you will see a lot of our young people have gotten formal employment, apart from the skills development, no less than 100 of them in the last 3 years, 100 of them. And I've published a book on all what we have done, and they are in the constituency.
And these inspire your confidence that they would give you the mandate again.
I won the last election with 65%, and my target then was 70%, but I got 65, no problem. I wish to increase the vote. That's what I'm working towards.
I'll give you 30 more seconds to give me a wrap of your thoughts.
Well, I think that the NPP government, not that I think, but I know that the NPP government has done exceedingly well on every measure of the country sector. The NPP has outperformed its main competitor, and that the Ghanaian people should have confidence in us. For the first time, let us depart from this 8 years cycle. It doesn't bring sustainable development. It doesn't bring, it doesn't support continuous development. We need sustainable development. We need continuity to ensure that the project that started by this government under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo continues. If you look at the NDC manifesto, they've got a different perspective altogether, that if we don't continue, they are going to forestall, abolish, scrap, and then reset a lot of our policy interventions.
That there is Dr. Prince Hamid Armah. Thank you so much for joining us for this all-encapsulating conversation, and I wish you the very best in the upcoming elections for the people of Kwesi-Mintin.
I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Right. And right before we go, a gentle reminder that Joy News and an amalgam of professional bodies is organizing a public speaking event on the theme Transformed Individuals Transforming the World, a challenge for the religious community in Ghana. The speakers, Dr. Philip Engman, Dr. Mrs. Yvonne Yirinchura Eseku, Ambassador Sanda Ahmed, and the main speaker for the day is Reverend Dr. Joseph Kofi Entry. The moderator is Philip Osubunsu. You know him. He's the host of Ekosi Seng on Asempa FM. This is happening on the 17th of September 2024 and will start at 6:30 p.m. sharp at the British Council Hall. For more information, please contact 0244 220 427. And this event is powered by Joy News and Joy FM. And also, we have that Habitat Fair coming up, and let's go off the overpriced land, home ownership, and furnishing deals. Get the latest and best deals for all your housing needs at one place. Visit the EcoBank Joy News Mini Fair at the Good Park near Accra Mall from the 13th to the 15th of September 2024. And the fair is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, and it is absolutely free. So be there to engage with various stakeholders in the housing value chain for your home ownership needs. EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Get a house, make it a home. And the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Project, from cities and habitat, rent to own, and sponsored by Elegant Homes, where quality meets value, safety, and home solutions. You think of a door? We have it. There's still a lot coming your way on the AM show. Don't go away. I'll be right back.